Solar rooftop economic analysis and its installation. Abstract solar power is energy from the sun that is converted into thermal or electrical energy. Solar energy is the cleanest and most abundant renewable energy source available, and the US has some of the richest solar resources in the world. Solar technologies can harness this energy for a variety of uses, including generating electricity, providing light or a comfortable interior environment, and heating water for domestic, commercial, or industrial use. Solar power is energy from the sun that is converted into thermal or electrical energy. Solar energy is the cleanest and most abundant renewable energy source available, and the US has some of the richest solar resources in the world. Solar technologies can harness this energy for a variety of uses, including generating electricity, providing light or a comfortable interior environment, and heating water for domestic, commercial, or industrial use. Solar Rooftop Solar Power System is a power generation system that can be installed for residential houses, office building, factory building, car park roof, which the system will produce electricity for use in conjunction with the distribution system of electricity. Recently, Government of India has revised the target of Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Mission, JNNSM, from 20,000 MW to 100,000 MW of solar power capacity by 2022. To achieve the ambitious target, the Indian government has set state-wise targets to be achieved by 2022. The northern region has a target of about 31 GW, followed by western region, 28.4 GW, southern region, 26.5 GW, and eastern region, 12.2 GW. Keyword: PV system, array mounting racks, PV solar panel. Introduction. The PV modules are a gathering of numerous phones associated either in arrangement to expand the voltage or in corresponding to build the current. The quantity of cells in the model is administered by the voltage of the module. The ostensible working voltage of the framework generally needs to match to ostensible voltage of the capacity framework. PV modules are classified as either glass-like or dainty film, and they are decided on two essential variables: proficiency and financial matters. Glass-like modules are ordered into two primary sorts, monotranslucent and polycrystalline. Monotranslucent modules are produced using a huge precious stone of silicon. They are the most proficient sort in changing over daylight into power, with a productivity arrives at 18%. Additionally, this sort is more costly than polycrystalline. Polycrystalline modules are the most well-known sort of the PV modules, and they are less productive than the monotranslucent modules and more affordable. The effectiveness of polycrystalline modules are appraised from 13% to 15%. Exhibits are most usually mounted on rooftops or on steel shafts set in concrete. In specific applications, they might be mounted at ground level or on building dividers. Sun-powered modules can likewise be mounted to fill in as part or the entirety of a shade construction, for example, a deck cover. On rooftop-mounted frameworks, the PV cluster is normally mounted on fixed racks, corresponding to the rooftop for tasteful reasons, and remained off a few creeps over the rooftop surface to permit wind current that will keep them as cool as pragmatic. PV system design. Site evaluation. The site assessment is the essential advance to be followed, that empowers a PV fashioner to generally appraise the necessary measure of power for an entire structure, as it would give us the rug space of the roof, permitting the originator to ascertain the unpleasant number of sun-oriented boards, having a foreordained measurement, needed on the structure. The following stage of the site assessment is to decide the components of different constructions, for example, water tanks, structures giving style to the structure, and so forth, so a plan can be assessed to forestall shadow falling on the board from those designs in order to forestall concealing and keep a sensible effectiveness in the force age of the board. The third piece of the site assessment is to decide the ideal spot for arrangement of a sun-powered inverter and the circulation boxes, so the DC run isn't excessively long. The more extended the DC links, the bigger the misfortunes. Subsequently, An ideal plan ought to be with the end goal that the DC links conveying the yield from the boards ought not travel long towards a circulation box, however to be short long and give an extension to negligible misfortunes. Subsequent stage includes the area of the meter space for neighborhood lattice, so as it gives a reasonable spot to connect a net meter and furthermore permits the architect to process the AC run from the inverter. Typically a matrix meter is set at the ground level of a structure, thus the site assessment should consolidate the construction tallness likewise, to decide the length of links needed to make a trip from the roof to the meter room. Preliminary design. After the site esteems subtleties, a fashioner makes a construction in a plan device, AutoCAD Creator, Google SketchUp and so on, for all intents and purposes reproduce the structure and give a harsh situation of the foreordained sun-oriented board, remembering the shadows and different limitations. These imperatives are for the most part the sun-powered irradiance accessible, the albedo factor and some sun-based precise qualities acquired for the organize of the roof. This gives the rough number of boards that can be mounted on the roof, therefore permitting the fashioner to cite the most extreme force yield that can be removed from the boards that would be mounted. Maximum Power Point Tracking, MPPT. To improve the proficiency of sun-oriented cells and produce maximum power point tracking, MPPT, ought to be utilized. It is an electronic framework that works module of the PV in a manner with the end goal that it permits the module to create all fit force. MPPT increments electrical productivity of PV and assists with diminishing number of sun-powered boards, required region for introducing PV clusters for delivering the ideal yield. Concerning maximum power point, MPP, a trial was led and the fundamental goal was to decide the trademark bend of the PV module, and to have the option to find the MPP of the PV module, through utilizing PV module cells. The open circuit voltage of the PV is estimated and followed by estimating the PV hamper. A variable opposition which takes after the heap across PV board was differed in advances, and for each comparing worth of the heap, the voltage across the heap and current through the heap was estimated. These outcomes were utilized to get the trademark bend of the PV module. Fig shows PV trademark bend. As the obstruction of the heap expand, the created current abatements and the yield voltage across the PV board increments. Thus, the connection between the delivered voltage and current is contrarily relative as it tends to be seen in the attributes bend of PV from Fig. It very well may be seen from Fig that there is a point in the bend where the yield voltage and yield current delivers the most extreme yield power which addresses MPP, 12.1 V, 2.9 A, 35 W. In a force project, improvement of the undertaking advancement assumes a significant part. Right around 50% of the work is done on the off chance that one accomplishes power by arrangement from the individual state utilities. The venture advancement begins with visits to the area, understanding about the provincial conditions, financial conditions, transportation offices and framework offices accessible around there. Aside from the over the underneath recorded undertakings will be under project improvement. During this stage, an undertaking group will be framed during the execution of the task. The architects from gathering will be included from beginning phases of execution of the undertaking. This would offer them the chance to acquaint with the gear and frameworks being introduced. These staff ought to include with the basic group of establishment and appointing. After the plant being appointed, these designers and experts would possess key situations in the association structure for the activity and upkeep of the plant. The obligations of the task group will be PVSYST programming we use in planning the SPV plant, to figure by and large age, which incorporate the contemplations, all things considered, either soil or because of debasement of parts, SPV module or inverter. Result and discussion. The main target is to design up to 50 kilowatts PV solar system. It is required to obtain the produced energy, the cost and financial analysis, the reduction of CO2 emission by means of using the PVSYST software. In addition, determination of effective area that is required for the PV panels installation. With the help of using Helioscope software we designed 50 kilowatts SPV plant array layout at IIMT campus roof. though there is already solar plant installed but for our study purpose designed SPV plant again. Conclusion. The batteries are utilized to store electric energy and to be utilized when there is no daylight. There are two principal sorts of the batteries that are utilized in the PV framework, lead-acid battery and deep cycle battery. The batteries in most basic use are lead corrosive sort in light of their great accessibility and cost viability, and furthermore it is equipped for delivering high flows. A charge regulator is a current directing gadget that is put between the sun-powered exhibit yield and the batteries. These gadgets are intended to keep the batteries from being cheated or excessively released. Some charge regulators use on/off control utilizing beat width tweak. It attempts to gradually diminish the measure of charge that follow into the battery as the battery approach its completely charged stage. Inverters are utilized to change over the battery or sun-powered board's yield to AC amount that can be utilized either to be associated with the lattice or utilized by electric devices. There are three primary sorts of inverters, specifically, independent inverters. It runs the electrical gadgets inside the framework, however it can't be associated with the network. Framework tie inverters, it tends to be associated with the lattice and they are intended to naturally disengage and close down when there is a deficiency of utility stockpile, yet they don't give reinforcement power during blackouts. Battery reinforcement inverters, it is a blend of the past two kinds. They give the power needs by the framework and they can likewise be associated with the matrix.